Assalamu alaikum. This is Advocate Gulraiz Ashfaq. Today is the 28th of the September and last day and in the meanwhile I was around the High Court and I observed the non-custodial matters in the High Court. The non-custodial matters in the High Court and the custodial matters of the minor and major children under the Guardian-Ad-Litem and the Guardian de facto. Today, uh, I just observed that this topic, that is very hot topic to be discussed with the Republic at large of the Pakistan, that when I observed that the raised amount of the devalued proportion of the uh, children under the subordination of the decretal sheets within the subordinations of the high courts and the subordinate quasi Pusine judges as well. Thereafter, I was bound to accommodate an applied operative SRO that what ought to be destined with such children with or without the affirmative solemn affirmations of the facts of the testimonials of the same subject matter under the still in rotation of the public tranquilizers. I said tranquilizers. In the meanwhile, what ought to be destined with the same subject line is a subjected question of this century. As a human being, I always raise my voice uh, against the violence against the children, abduction within the Pakistan, and after being abducted, what ought to be construed with the such children is the labor union in the Pakistan. First, the Pakistan in the residential commercial premises, the labor unions in the Brooklyn area is a secondary hot topic. Let's rotate with the secondary and the primary topic that is very concerned with the public area, that what is the public sector and that what is the factor which lead the public sector into the categorical defamatory and derogatory remarks about their revealed chapters of the human miseries in Pakistan. Uh, the consumption of the food in the trial courts by the children under the deficit fiscal fraud, fiscal deficit disorder. When I was observing these all subjected subjections, I was bound to observe that the custodial cases in the Pakistan and this is the concurrence applied judgment. Yes, when I observed that in the Pakistan, and especially in the operational divisional areas of the Lahore divisions, that what is being destined with the children under the defection clauses under the guardian defection areas is my prime consideration as per my Pusine judicial observations of the same subject lines in the Pakistan. When I observed that the females and the males, the both species are trying to not having the capacity of the children reproduced over the shoulder of the same subject matter, and the such subject matter are not even trying to lay the children in the foundation of the humanitarian observation. Thereafter, what ought to be the crime offences commenced in the Pakistan is a prime consideration of mine, which I just observed. And I observed with very low heart that what is that offense. That in Pakistan it is not a settled principle that a man and a female, whenever they just want to commensurate a sexual urge, they just be found in the public sector under the adverse possession of the you can say compartment of a third person, and they are trying to purify their love and affection, and to originate a child. And after the origination of the child, the same subject matter are not in the position to originate or to have the possession of the same subject matter, is the landmark, outstanding landmark obligation to be redressed under the addressal of the Supreme Judicial Council under the High Court rules. And this is my observation regarding the same subject line for the 28th and 29th of the September of the till the 30th September of year 2022. I was totally observing these points that in the defection clauses of the Guardians ad litem and the Guardian de facto. Today it would be discussed again that in the meantime of the same defection clauses, what comes the next is the defection areas of the. In the meantime, when I observe the still in the observation orders of the Lahore division, specially because as a guardian ad litem judicial observations orders, I have to observe that order as well. When I observe that the subdivisions of the Lahore and the divisions of the Lahore, both areas are differentiating as well. When I observe that the surrounded humanitarian negligence appears to be the top rooted issue in the civil observation, I just observe myself under the human deficit organic diseases, and I just comply to reply with the same in the observation as well. The non-custodial and the custodial issues of the females and the males children, mature or the minor, in the civil original jurisdiction of the High Court or the Supreme Court would be a point of the law under the framing of the charge applied sheets, which is not apparent on the face of record. And if so be on the record, the parties are not willing to reproduce a cause of action in the same said police station or the courtrooms, whereas the police station and the courtrooms are trying to perform the best of the same side, but the both of the individuals, after performing ultimate intercourses with the parties of the each other, they just want to be expect the modesty, which I do not understand. The factors of the modesty would have been provided to the same subject line if they be honest prior to the statement of the same admissions to the facts in line. And that is my question of the century, that admissibility of the evidence after the not recording of the same is the line of and the length of the same. I assume the consumption rate of the admission of not admissibility of the evidence of the secondary and the primary person into the principal debtor of the crime is not my principal ratio of the observation order. Thereby, I have to reconsider myself. As I told that last day and night, I was rotation in the High Court as to observe that the custodial and the non-custodial issues. The prime consideration of the jail's high group, which is situated in the Mar Road. Today we have to understand that the abused narcotic reproduction over the citizens' portals would be reconsidered in the jail route, jail cell. And after that, they have to be treated in the manner of the ethnic humanity. In the same meanwhile, what we have to be destined the secondary primary obligation, which is and which should be understood by the Republicans themselves, that if they do not want to understand the administrative judges, they do not want to understand the Pusain judges, then they will and there shall be no law which will be rendered under the state repulsive, because they said that a common Pakistani said that inside his house that there's no law. There is no law. They just say over and over and this is a crime. This is a crime. If there is no law, then why the fuck you are yelling over the and you are fucking your females over and over? If there is no law, there was law. There is law. I'm not of the opinion to observe anyone as a lordship of the rotation of the observation of the crowds. This is my personal sort of vendetta. Anyone can reconsider it. If any Pakistani was found fucking a female, and after that he or she is such female was being fucked by the male, or a male is fucking the female, and after that they said the recording of the statement through any third person, they said that we were not aware of the rights of the produced children in the defection clauses, the case and the cause would be under the Guardian-Ad-Litem, and the legacy of the third person would be accrued. That is my question of the outstanding liability which I am just representing today. The accomplice in the reproduction is a third question under the guardian codes in the Pakistan, that if the guardians were providing the reciprocate area to the reproduction of defection children, thereafter the guardian of the same would be charged under the charge sheets of the applied puisine punishment penalties under the 25 years rigorous imprisonment beside the jail. Yes, this is the applied concurrent law in the Pakistan, which every Pakistani should understood in his house. That you are saying in your house to anyone that you are not aware of right of the children, but you were producing the same children. This is my question. I'm raising a landmark judicial question because this is my field. That's the way I'm practicing the law. Either the public like it or not. Whether the public hate it, whether the public subject it, that is not my concern. My concern remains the same here, to raise a landmark digital obligation for the well-reformed unions of the Pakistan, that first, the Pakistanis are very poor. Yes, I just admire that. Pakistanis are very poor. Yo, we're very poor country. But when it comes to understand that they have to get married, they become very rich. And after when they have to get resolved the ties of the marriage under the dissolutions of the laws, they again become very extreme poor. So there is a question of religion again in the fourth manna. You have to be understood by this subjected line. Yes. So when elements 1, 2, 3, 4 multiply by 1, 3, 4, the subjected objection of the hate speech females reproduction under the subordination of the ben dominant predominant existent in the extra area would have been observed in the whole of the Pakistan, and the females right now 111th position. Every house in the Pakistan have the 111th position. Such females are trying to convince the uh, conviction rate of their sexual autonomy. This is a new term, sexual autonomy. The females in the Pakistan, 65%, trying to convince the sexual autonomy, that such females were not accommodated with the fact of the prime person or the second person, but such females would have been found in the public sector. That is my prime social obligation as a puisine administrative judicial officer, that the question of the observations, that if the females under the administrative cause of line are not in the length and control of their husband, and such females were reproduced and overproduced and consumed by the prime consideration, thereafter the children under the ED center is a question, and they have huge egos. That egos, huge egos. They are living with a huge egos. So stay blessed. This is Advocate Gulraiz King, year 2022, and 28th, 9th, and 30 September.